Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for our training on sensitivity analysis. My name is Daniel McCardle, and I'll be leading our training session today. First, what is sensitivity analysis? It is a technique used to analyze how different values of an independent variable impact a dependent variable with a set of given assumptions. Kenton, 2024. Sensitivity analysis, which is also sometimes referred to as a what-if analysis, is a crucial tool that can be utilized by our organization. It can inform our organization and helps us to understand how changing key input variables can affect projected outcomes and enable informed investment decisions by our organization. To conduct the sensitivity analysis, we will first look at the qualitative steps involved. The first step to take when conducting the sensitivity analysis is to identify key variables that could impact the outcome of our project. These variables may include sales volume, cost of goods sold, or discount rates. Next, we'll be establishing realistic ranges for each of these variables. After that, we'll consider the metrics we want to evaluate in our sensitivity analysis, which may include looking at the net present value, or NPV, and internal rate of return, IRR. Finally, scenarios based on each of the variables we want to analyze will be established, such as looking at how underperforming sales could impact our expected projections. Next, let's look at the quantitative steps involved in the sensitivity analysis. The first step will be to establish the base scenario. Referencing our organization's performance from previous years, we can establish a solid baseline. After the baseline is established, different outcomes based on our scenarios can be calculated by adjusting one variable at a time based on our scenarios. Armed with the data points from our what-if scenario, we can compare this information to our baseline data and identify how sensitive the NPV or IRR are to our inputs. Professor Ikram, 2022. Next, let's look at some advantages and disadvantages of utilizing sensitivity analysis. As we look to incorporate sensitivity analysis into our capital budgeting operations, we can briefly discuss some advantages and limitations of this type of analysis. Some advantages include that it will allow us to identify the most critical variables that could impact our projects under specific conditions, enabling us to focus on these key areas. Suresh, 2023. It'll inform our decision-making criteria, allowing us to analyze best case and worst case scenarios, enabling enhanced risk assessment. However, some disadvantages to this type of analysis are that we are adjusting one variable at a time, which could prove to be time-consuming. Additionally, we'll not take into consideration variables that potentially have a more complex relationships than we are considering. We can look into additional tools to alleviate these types of shortfalls, to include incorporating other forms of analysis, to include scenario analysis. In conclusion, today we discussed the definition of sensitivity analysis. We looked at the qualitative and quantitative steps involved in the process and discussed some advantages and limitations to sensitivity analysis with regards to assessing potential risks with our capital budgeting operations. Here are references utilized for this presentation. Thank you for your time.